Hey, what's up, y'all? It's the one, it's the only Iceman and Bob. We also have game enthusiasts in the building. We like to welcome you all here to this wonderful live stream. What is this live stream about? If you haven't seen the title, I always like to announce people might be driving, they might be gaming, they might be calibrating their TV. You never know what they're doing. We're going to talk about our analysis, our perspectives, insights, and all of that in a bag of chips regarding, and yes, I said a bag of chips, regarding the 2023 TV Shootout. Many of you have watched it stream online, but you were unable to be there. Now, Stop the FOMO has also streamed the entire event online, as well as Brian's Tech Therapy. Some of you know him as Whisper Status. We were also in the building. I know many of you saw me on camera at certain points in time. I was there. I was also streaming from my channel as well. And Game Enthusiast was in the building. So we've heard a lot of feedback from the community, and we want to respond to that feedback and answer. A lot of people have certain things, both good and bad, and we want to give you all our insights and explanations on not only what took place, but why the particular scoring is what it is, and the whole crowning and all of this stuff. So I would actually like to go ahead and get started with game enthusiasts. I generally like to pass the mic on to the guest or the co-host or whatever you want to call it. So, game enthusiasts, let her rip, as we always say.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here with Iceman and Bob, and it was a fun event. I think it was a fun educational event for me, and I was with my brother as well. So we both had fun, and we met Iceman and Bob, and he would help educate us and see and give us like an idea of what they were doing during the shootout. So the judges were examining the TVs, and the calibrators like D Nice and Classy were just clockwork, just checking constantly, maintaining and making sure it went smoothly. So there were some technical difficulties, but it was an overall sound good event, and we have and I think we both have a good amount to say here, after what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I want to piggyback on what game enthusiasts just said. Anytime you have an event of this caliber, there's a tremendous amount that's required for this to take place. A lot of people sit back in the comment section, and I am not one to shy away from challenge. I'm not one to shy away from conflict. I approach it, I deal with it day in and day out, and I'm going to deal with it here. I want to first and foremost put out a community message. So take this as you may, take this as a good thing or bad thing, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out right out the gate. Let's get the elephant in the room. Let's address it and let's do it. All right. Y'all see my face. I'm not hiding behind the camera. I'm right here. Y'all know where to find me. I mean, I've been catching a lot of flack before in the past, but it needs to be addressed. What am I addressing? When you do a TV shootout or a gaming shootout of this caliber, and you can even dial back the size, but when you do this, there is a tremendous amount that is required to even pull it off. You have to have the resources. There are so many things down to the wires, to the cables, the setup. Are the devices functioning perfectly? You may have perfectly working devices. All of a sudden, the streamers go down. The streamers act up. Your Ethernet acts up. The internet acts up. All types of things act up. There's all types of issues that take place, number one. Number two, I know a lot of people criticize this event. And they say, oh, it's a sponsored event. It's paid and bought for by Sony. And me actually being there, that's so far from the truth. I don't even know where to begin with that. What I will say is that for everyone at the AVS forums, yes, I'm calling AVS forums out because y'all came for me before, so I'm coming for y'all, right? And y'all have come for many people in the community. There's great people there, but then there's also not so great people there. I mean, hey, I'm not hiding behind the screen. You see my face, right? I just telling y'all as it is. I challenge you all of you professionals, you level 1, level 2, level 3, calibrators and all your AV enthusiasts in the community. What I challenge you all to do is to actually put together a shootout of your own. That way, you can show us all how it's done. Because all I see is criticism from all the experts saying they should have done this, they shouldn't have done that, they shouldn't have this person attend. Why are they here? Why do you have the brand reps, et cetera, et cetera? All these complaints and criticisms. But I don't see anyone that's complaining and criticizing, attempting to put together a shootout of their own. So I would like to raise that challenge. You know, there's a lot of challenges going out, and I'm going to start right off the bat. I challenge anyone out there and welcome, and I'll be more than happy to attend it, depending on where it is, if it's in the United States or another country. I mean, again, depending on location, I'm sure not only myself, many of us would be more than happy to attend it. So please show us how it's done, since there's so many complaints and criticisms. With that elephant being out of the room, I will say from what I've seen, it was a very well run event. As Game Enthusiast said, the calibrators were on the job. There were some technical hiccups. There were categories that we had to look at, time constraints. Also keep in mind, the location was in New York. And if you check the news, there was some severe flooding, especially in Brooklyn, issues with the airports being shut down. Go check the news, it's out there. So there was even issues with getting the people in the building to get set up, to get things going, to check, to recheck. And you have to take that in consideration anytime you have an event of this caliber and this size, but many people don't think about logistics. So I do want to put that out there because that's a serious topic. And again, we welcome and challenge the entire AV community to host an event. I'm sure everyone will be welcome and excited about that. Also, gaming. As you can see, we have literally a game enthusiast here. I'm also a gamer as well. And I want to address the gaming aspect because a lot of people were saying, hey, how come there was no gaming? If you understood, again, the time that it took to even cover the categories that were covered, it's almost an impossible task. For every television set, you need a separate gaming console. You cannot run a splitter from each game console and say, hey, I've got one Nintendo Switch. We'll do the SDR. We've got one Xbox, one PlayStation. You can't do that. You have to have a separate console with the separate games on each TV. So at the bare minimum with the 4K shootout, we're talking about actually 8 signals because we have the reference monitors as well. You have 6 TVs plus 2 reference monitors to give us that idea on what is supposed to be reference material, what's supposed to be accurate. So you're talking about 8 consoles, 8 games, 8 of the same games. You have to have 8 people playing the games at the same spot or maybe showing the same intro. That's a tremendous amount of resources. And there's a reason why no one has actually done it and pulled it off, let alone the time constraints that it would take to do that. So again, this is another challenge that we have. I'm saying this because many of you like, well, I know what my TV looks like, my G3 and, you know, my Q95C and my Sharp and my Hisense and whatever you have, right, of the 6 competing TVs in the 4K categories. You would say your TV's better in the gaming aspects. And it probably is, depending on what you're referring to. However, it just wasn't enough time for that. So we had to limit it to the type of content that was available. Also, you have to pick the specific scenes that would stress the panels or show certain types of content. So all of these things take time, not only to gather, but to also keep showing, keep them in loop. Many of you may have seen that there was times where the screensavers kicked in during the shootout. Someone had to be back there actively at all times, keeping things running. So there's a lot that goes into this, and I just see a lot of criticism, but I don't see many people actually showing up. And it's kind of like eating some food, or should I say not eating some food, and then you say you don't like it, but you never had that type of food before. You never experienced that type of food, and you're just looking, but you never tried it. So how can you really say you don't like it? Or if it's not food, it's a car. Or if it's not a car, it's clothes. You know, you pick your thing. You pick your TV. You say you don't like a TV brand, but you've never seen that TV brand or that particular model in person. Right? I'm just saying. Game enthusiasts, I know there's a lot you probably want to chime in on and say.
Yes. So I think that the overall experience was good. But when it comes to gaming, like you said, it's like you have to factor in, okay, now you have to also think, what games are they going to choose for this? And like, if they pick, like, I don't know, like, some good looking games, like, Spider-Man is a good looking game, Ghost of Tsushima is a good looking game, but you don't want too much Sony PlayStation games because people will think, hey, why is there only Sony games? I mean, people will think that it's that's sponsored. So
Absolutely.
but I think it's a matter of perspective where people have to like kind of. I think there's a problem with one is the YouTube compression because it doesn't show you the right, like, it doesn't give you like the best, like, quality visual experience that seeing it in person will do. So there's no HDR in the Value Electronics thing. Like, I think Vincent Teo from HDT Test, he sometimes films his videos in HDR so you can see, but then you also have to think, okay, what about the end users like device? Well, if their
Yes.
devices don't run HDR, and if they
Yes.
don't run, because the Value Electronics, they start with SDR, but you could, like, if the compression wasn't bad, you could make a conclusion though. But when it comes to HDR, it's like you kind of have to be there to come to a conclusion. So
Absolutely.
I think the best way to combat that, like best way to get that together is you have to describe it. You have to be really good at describing what you see. For like, I watched yesterday. I watched all about TKK. So, and he was doing in gaming, he was comparing the S95C to the A95L, and he was playing Spider-Man Miles Morales. He started out at the very beginning where he was getting off the subway. You know that scene?
Yes, yes, I love that scene.
So he played the first scene on the S95C, and then he played it on the A95L. And the wording he did was great. He said the S95C, when it comes to gaming, it looks like you're watching a comic book. But when it comes to the A95L, it feels like you're watching a movie.
Yes.
So that's not, and just because it's a comic, he said the comic book thing, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, which I think is true. After seeing what both them calibrated look like, I can see him making that conclusion, because the S95C and the A95L were like neck and neck. Like I can see the difference from the LG G3. I just see those two because the S95C had more intense like colors, but A95L had more natural colors. It was more colorful than the G3, but it looked more like natural. Like,
Yes.
when you compare them to the reference monitor, that's the thing. The Value Electronics TV Shootout is about which is closer to a Hollywood reference monitor. That doesn't mean it's the best TV. That is end all be all best TV, because people have different use cases with what they want to do with their TV. Like, it's almost like smartphone cameras. It's like say if you want, like, there's a Pixel, right? The Pixel 8 Pro got announced today.
Right,
So
right.
Pixel has a contrasty, very eye-catching look to it. Meanwhile, something like the iPhone has a more natural look to it. There's people that like the more saturated, contrasty look, but there's people that want the more natural look. There are also people that like an in between, where they want natural, but they want a little color, they want a little pop. So it's kind of like that. So if you were at the Value Electronics, if you were skeptical and you are critical of the Value Electronics Shootout, I think maybe next year just come with is come like ready and to see and actually see how this operation is, how the operation goes, and you'll and I confident that you'll get like some perspective, like, oh, okay, there's that. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, all right. So like, for example, like there was a point in the shootout where they had to, the lights were always off, but they actually had to lock the door so they can focus on was it the grayscale or
I think,
something
yeah, it was
else?
the great, yeah. So y'all may have remembered on Stop the FOMO stream where Caleb, you might have heard Caleb Dennison talking about, all right, folks, I got to lock the doors. And, we were trying to look, as Game Enthusiast was saying, at the grayscale results and see what was happening. Is the logistics was a lot of people were coming and going throughout the door. And so with the grayscale, we were doing like a 3% grayscale examination. And so at that low level, we needed like complete darkness. And actually, what was ironic, let me back up. Do you remember Game Enthusiasts? We actually had, was it the high sense was on, right?
Yeah.
The high sense, U8K was on, and it was so bright that we had to actually turn the TV off because it was shining. Like after we saw all the judges looked at everything, we had to shut the TV off so we could see the rest of them because it was messing with the grayscale. And then we also had people coming and going out of
Yes.
the room at certain times. And so like these are some of the logistics that it's very easy to criticize, because what you all may not know is that FOMO and Brian did an amazing job to try to cover the stream.
Yes.
And what you all that were in the live stream were commenting on and saying, that was a total separate event, or should we say an experience in itself, from the actual shootout. So FOMO and Brian couldn't interrupt the judging or the actual shootout process because of what people were saying in the chat. So they were just trying to do the chat to give you all commentary, because in the previous years, it might have been similar to my footage, because I was actually getting my hands dirty, hands, knees, everything dirty, crawling on the floor, trying to look at what the judges were looking at myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can ask Game Enthusiasts if anybody was there personally looking at what the judges was looking at. It was definitely me. Brian,
me
will tell
too.
you,
I was like,
FOMO, Caleb, everybody in the video can tell you, oh, Iceman and Bob, he literally, like, I might as well have been a judge, even though I wasn't, but I
Yeah.
was every single thing, because I wanted to be sure at what the judges were looking at, me having a calibrator eye. I wanted to see if I didn't know what they were marking. Now it was too dark a lot of times to see what they were ranking in the scores, but I wanted to see if I was in agreement with some of the conversations that took place in the room. And
Yes.
honestly, I actually was. A lot of what they said, I agreed with. And these are just little details that many of you may not have heard in the chat, because again, Brian and FOMO and Brian, they were in a separate area. It's kind of hard to describe unless you've seen it. Maybe when I go back and show you all the footage from my stream, I have a different angle than you saw on FOMO stream. So you all maybe could get a glimpse of that, and I'll try to explain that. But they were in a whole different section. So they would have to actually get up from the live chat in the live stream and come over there. So sometimes you may have seen them on camera walking by, what have you, unless we adjusted the stream to focus on them. And again,
Yes.
when Brian, it's funny, Game Enthusiast, Brian got at one point in time and he turned all the TVs to standard mode just for the chat. And
Okay.
that actually upset a lot of the people in the room.
Really?
It's
I
like,
didn't know that. Wow.
yeah, he actually got up and turned it. I'm not sure if you were in or out. And again, it was a long event. But at one point in time, he got up, he put everything in standard just for the live chat. This had nothing to do with the judging results. And even the calibrators, the judges is like oohing and ahhing, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This doesn't look good, et cetera, et cetera. But it wasn't about how it looked. It was about what the people in the chat wanted. So I want to say something on that note. Regardless of the ranking and the results, and we will go over that in just a second. We're going to go over the scoring, and we're going to talk about that. All of these TVs won in some areas. There were some areas where they beat, or at the very least tied with any of the TVs. So I want y'all to understand, when y'all hear king of TVs, it doesn't mean that no other TV is better than the king of TVs in that particular area. Or I'll
Yeah.
just say overall, it just means that in the areas that were tested as it relates to reference, and they did do an out of a box test as well, it just performed better. And some of that, there was reasons for that. We also had a panel lottery issue that took place with the Samsung.
Yeah.
Last year, it was with the Sony A95K, and this happens. There's no cherry picking. There's no have the Sony reps have Rob Brennan come and bring a TV and have Chirac with Samsung. It's like, no, you had Hisense in the building. You had brand reps from all of them, Sharp in the building, and they didn't bring a TV. The TVs were as they arrived at Value Electronics, and we just took them, or should I say, they took them and did what they made. Maybe you got a good one, maybe you got a bad one. It is what it is. And maybe yours, if you own these TVs, actually perform better than what you see, even if you own the king of TVs. Maybe your A95L actually would perform better than what you've seen. So I just like this to throw that out, because people say, well, my TV sucks because it's not the king. Well, it got second place, it got third place, it's garbage. Stop fanboying, stop touting and bragging and stuff. It's a nice title to have, but as we're going to go through and as it was announced and as it's listed, it's not the end all be all as to which TV is the best. It's always down to use case. Always.
Yes.
What you watch, what you're going to do, what your needs are, what you are hooking up, what you aren't hooking up with, etc., etc. So don't just get I don't care if it's Samsung that wins. I don't care if LG. I don't care if it's Sharp, Hisense. No matter who wins, because remember, y'all, LG won the 8K shootout.
Yeah.
Just remember that. It was not Sony, right? The Sony lost in the 8K shootout.
The Z2 won, right? It was the Z2. Yeah.
The Z2. The Z2 was just spot on reference model, immaculate. So LG actually won, as well as Sony. So please, I have to stress this, because I've seen people creating videos and people talking, and we don't get paid. We're not. We did this all out of our own pockets. We traveled. We're not getting any back deals with TVs, and I don't know what people be thinking, and the people attending are not getting any type of deals either. This is like an independent shootout that was put together, no different than people like us. They just so happen to be in the industry, and they have some professionalism about them, such as us. So that's the type of people you would want to do a shootout, to give it some legitimacy. But go ahead, Game.
And what this and the thing about this is that this shootout, this is the 19th TV shootout. So I think there is, that's legitimacy. Like they've been having this for, I assume 19 years. So they know. I believe Robert and crew, knew what they were doing. I think it's just, I wonder if the flood didn't happen, maybe it would have been slicker. I mean, people would have probably been on time, stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe technical issues is technical issues. So because you got who was the guy who was working behind the TVs? What was his name?
You know what? And y'all have to forgive me if I forget, because I've been running off of drive lag. I don't want to say jet lag. I can't really say jet lag, but it's been drive lag. Give me a second, it'll come to me. Just keep talking, Game Enthusiast.
Yeah, so he was he was trying to work through the technical difficulties. Classy was trying to, making sure everything's right, checking the remotes, using the remotes for certain TVs, making sure, and like you said earlier, where they getting TVs out of ambient mode, or one TV was about to turn off automatically, but they were managing the remotes. D Nice was he was literally on the floor, on the floor with his hands, just checking the TVs out, making sure everything's right. So they put in, I think they put in the work. It was my first time seeing the shootout. I watched the shootout last year through live stream, and even back then, I wasn't wow, like I'm angry how this is going. I was just like, oh, okay. I was just getting information. I was just learning from what like because these things are saying. Because here's something. This is a good opportunity to like the Value like Electronics TV Shootout. It's a good opportunity to like learn from the industry, like what the industry, like what each representative of the manufacturer thinks and what their philosophies are. Because there were some times where I think during lunch or during break they had little panels. But
Yes.
yeah. So they were, and I think my brother mentioned that they were talking about some interesting stuff. So that's definitely like take that as okay. This is their philosophy. That's that philosophy. Like I think there was one. I don't know if this was during the AK shootout. I was watching that live on Sunday when I got home. They were talking about like TVs being thin and like how it's good. TVs don't need to be that thin. That way you can have better audio and stuff like that. I don't
Yes.
recall. I don't know if he was. I don't know if that was the 8K shootout or the 4K shootout because I had to leave at 5:15 ish so I can catch my bus, which I missed.
I know, right? Everything was
Yeah,
crazy, y'all. It was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. But it's definitely like an educational because it's like when you actually see these TVs, you see like okay, all right, this is this. All right, this is going more for this. Um, the Samsung's going more for that. The Sony's going for more for this. LG's doing going more for this or that. And the LED TVs are doing their own thing. They shine at a like at different use cases. So, and that was my first time seeing calibrated like calibrated TVs um, for myself because usually I'm just like I'm the kind of person that like I do care about stuff like Dolby Vision gaming or like since I have a Sony A90J um, and I have it like and I have a PS5 and when the PS5 is plugged in it's like it auto calibrates the HDR for me and I like those features. So
Yes. What did you think about because I push calibration all the time. I know the difference that even an entry level TV, a budget TV, the
yes,
difference that it can even make with that calibration can like even step like, you know what? This little $400 or $500 TV ain't half bad. It's
yeah,
not a high end, it's not a master series, it's not, top tier. But you'd be like, you know what? Okay, after this calibration, it's hitting a little bit.
yeah.
What did you think about your impression of seeing all the TVs calibrated?
I think it was really interesting because it's just I'm not used to seeing like I heard of TV calibration, but I never used it myself. Um, for example, like I got a Sony, so like out of the box accuracy is really good. Sure, you can make tweaks to it, but the out of the box, like when you're not going to hire a calibrator for it, it's fine. I think Robert, when I got my A90J at that time, says, "Oh, if you don't want it to be calibrated, you can just put it into custom mode, and then you should be set." That's what I did, and it looks great. Um, but like when it comes to budget TVs, like say like something like a Hisense or a TCL or it's like something 500. It I don't know like does calibration depend the price of the calibration depend on the TV itself or is it just in general? Is it all the same pricing?
It's usually the same price.
Mm,
Yeah, it's regardless of the TV. It's just a pretty much a fixed price. It's more
oh,
so based upon the time, and a couple other things. A lot of times, calibrators do have to travel. You may not have one in the area, so I know a lot of people's like, "Why should I pay a caliber for $600?" I'm like, "Well, if they're coming halfway across the country, they're gonna spend two to probably $400, depending on how they're getting across the country to you, unless they just happen to be going that way on travel costs." So I mean,
yeah,
and then they're gonna sit down with your television and take a good calibration. You're gonna need to at least spend 2 to 4 hours, like at least. Anything
yeah,
less than that, um, I mean, it can be done. I'm not saying you can't do it. I do it all the time. But if you want it done right, you want to hit all the picture modes and get it the way you want it, it's going to take at least 2 to 4 hours. I don't care if you auto cal, if you hook up Calvin, it doesn't matter what you do, right? Manually, auto, it's going to take that time for you to get the 3D LUTs and the spectrum, like all the technical stuff. So you got to think about that. That person has traveled and spent that time. And so that's really not a far-fetched price. Or even if they didn't travel, say like at Value Electronics, you can order it that way. You know, D Nice and John and crew, they'll calibrate it. They're still spending that time to make sure your TV's right. And you have that assurance that your TV was done right. So it's something that is worth the cost, because I see all the time people say, well, what about your picture settings, Iceman and Bob? What about settings for this? What about settings for this? When you calibrate your TV or get it calibrated, you're not worried about picture settings. I don't care what, if you're gaming, if you're watching SDR, if you're watching sports, if you're watching movies, it doesn't matter what you hook up, Blu-ray, streaming, USB, I don't care what you plug up, right? Everything is consistent. Like my wife, my son, anybody that comes over to any guest, they never have to fool with the picture settings because everything looks great. So like that's the benefit. And you're almost getting that Sony feel. That Sony, that's generally what Sony's known for. I say it, the Sony signature, where no matter what the picture mode is, no matter what the content, you just turn it on, man, it looks great. I really don't have to do nothing. Boom. You're getting that out of calibration no matter what TV you have. So it's something you all want to keep in mind, and that's what we were seeing. I kind of do want to bring something up on that note, speaking of seeing, because a lot of you need to see this. Okay. So some of you may have seen this, some of you may have not seen this. This is the press release of the actual shootout. I am going to full screen it. I just kind of want to throw the cool background in there for those of you that are still here with us. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you please subscribe to Game Enthusiast. For those of you that don't know who Game Enthusiast is, let's take a look at this very quickly. All right. You can come over here to his channel. It's literally Game Enthusiast. Please subscribe. You see I'm subscribed to him, and definitely check him out. All right. You also can subscribe to me too. Y'all know where I'm at. I'm like right here, so it's no point in me showing you, but just for the sake of showing, here's my channel too. I mean, you should already know because I'm already here. All right, so back to the press release, right? These were the people that were involved in terms of the judges, right? Robert didn't judge, I didn't judge, FOMO didn't judge, Game Enthusiast didn't judge, Brian didn't judge, Rob Brennan didn't judge, Shirok from Samsung didn't judge. Like, you don't see what I'm going, Caleb Dennison was not a judge. Yeah. All right. So while everyone is thinking that we were some cherry pick people, that wasn't the case. And High Def News, shout out to High Def News, because he was in the building too. He was not a judge either, but we were looking. Okay. So anyway, you can go back and read this at your time. Thank you, Phil Holland, for providing that original 8K content on the 8K shootout. It was absolutely amazing. I will show you all some of that footage. He gave me the okay. I just have to compile it. So again, we see, as I mentioned, the U8K with the Hisense, the LG G3. We had the Samsung Q95C, as well as the S95C QD OLED. We had the Sharp, okay, the mini LED that just came out. And then we also had the Sony A95L. All right. So I want to get to the scorecard because I want you to pay attention to this, right? It says the results are in, and Sony's A95L is now crowned the king of the 4K TVs, right, for the 2023 model year. Now, tied for second place is LG's G3 and Samsung's S95C. I know I've been seeing people say, well, that's how, and let me tell you something. The A95L, correct me if I'm wrong, but behind the scenes, we almost thought it was going to be an upset. We actually, and I'm not saying we in terms of just me and Game Enthusiasts, like everybody in the building almost thought the Samsung S95C was going to win. Like the way it was looking, we were like, uh-oh, this is about to send ripples in the community, right? Start a whole bunch of wars like the S95B did when it came out. But anyway, obviously the best LCD TV is the Q95C with Samsung. Hands down, it was the closest to the OLEDs you could get. We're pretty aware of that. All of the TVs, this is what I want y'all to pay attention to. All the TVs came in very close to each other. Okay, so they're all winners. Y'all don't understand how close it really was, like besides the points, right? So we're gonna look at the points because I know a lot of people have been complaining. Some people are fine. It's like, hey, I got the Sony. I'm getting the 895L. I'm happy. I'm good. So let's look at the points real quick, right? And I want to focus mainly on the OLED. You all can look at this at your own time. If you look at the grayscale uniformity, okay, which is this first column here in SDR, you will see here that the S95B took a serious hit. All right. It only got 3.57 points. Okay. Obviously, the 895L had 4.43, and the G3 even got 4, even, right? The Samsung, again, took a hit because of the panel uniformity. It just happens, right? There are many of you that have an S95C that's better. So this should have at least been like a 4.3. Now, if you come over to shadow detail and black levels, you see it tied with the A95L.
Mm-hmm.
It was spot on. I mean, you can't get any better, right? Color accuracy, 4.29 versus 4.5. I mean, that's extremely close, right? That's not a blowout. As you can see, both of the QD OLEDs pulled ahead of the G3. The G3 had 3.86. This was QD OLED shining. And this color accuracy probably would have been higher had we had a better panel. The grayscale uniformity most likely would have been up as well as color accuracy. I just like to throw that in, right, to keep things short. Now, it's very technical, but we don't have a whole lot of time to make this a long story. If you look at native motion, many of you would be surprised too that at least Samsung scored a 4, right? Now we know Sony's motion is 4.8. LG is generally known as 4.8. So I don't see how people are like, oh, well, this is unfair judging because we know the G3 has great motion, right? I mean, it just does. And technically, really, all of these TVs do, but the Samsung is working in that area, right? And then we come to the HD resolution. Keep in mind, this is SDR, all right? Again, the Samsung just got right there at 4. Look, the G3 actually beat the A95L. Can you figure that? And we're talking about HD resolution. The G3 actually looked better, right? So this isn't like some rigged results. And then we come over here to HDR. Again, HDR, in my opinion, you'll see these numbers like slightly lower with the Samsung because it's going to take a hit since it took a hit with the panel lottery in SDR. HDR is going to be more challenging. And so if it's already taken a hit, it's going to take more of a hit. And that's why the numbers here are lower. Obviously, Sony pretty much maintained their 4.43s. If you see in each category, their color accuracy was even better in HDR.
Like,
but
that's crazy.
That is crazy. And that's a part of their clear image, and they have reworked their processor, right? You see their motion in HDR is not quite as good as their native motion in SDR. However, their HD resolution is better. It went from 4.33 to 4.8. Well, this is more so high APL color, but I'm sorry. I'm skipping categories. Y'all got to forgive me. Again, I'm still dealing with driving lag, not jet lag. But anyway, you can see that everything for the most part was still pretty consistent, right? So it wasn't like this was some strange, crazy rigging of results and a situation that just didn't make sense. It just, I'll go ahead and leave that up so y'all can kind of get somewhat of an idea about what's going on. It is what it is. And with Sony's clear, their XR clear image, it really stepped up the clarity with the processor. It just really made that much more oomph. I would say from the A95K and previous model Sonys that weren't released this year, 2023, it wouldn't have the same level of clarity. It's just some extra oomph. And many people think it's just a rigging of Sony. No, they actually stepped their processor up. It's just that good, especially with the QD OLED panel. Man, like it looks good on all the other Sonys, but it's something extra, that extra sauce. So, I mean, I personally think that Sony should have won. Samsung, I think if anything, Samsung should have scored closer. And I think
Yeah.
if Samsung did scan, if we had a better panel, it would have been a closer decision. Now, y'all have to understand the judges were like deliberating for a long time. We waited. That's partly why Game Enthusiasts missed this bus. Because we were just waiting on the results and waiting. And many of y'all in the live chat were waiting. Y'all probably were wondering what was taking so long. It was that close.
Yeah, and Robert didn't want me to leave. Like, Robert didn't want me and my brother to leave. So it's just like, we still gotta go, and I still missed the bus. I had to wait. We had to wait 30 minutes. So
That's hilarious.
yeah, it's funny. But hey, I guess that means I stayed there a little longer than I should because I wanted to know the results, but they didn't give the out. I mean, they didn't get the results out until 6:13 p.m. I believe.
Yes.
That's when I was on the bus watching the rest of the live stream, and that's why I seen the A95L win. I wonder if they had something called color saturation. I feel like the S95C would have probably won if it had color saturation.
Oh
Not
yeah.
saturation.
Yeah, that's you. Do you remember on Game Enthusiasts? You remember? I can't remember the exact movie, but we were talking about it. The me, you, and your brother. You remember the one scene where
Super Mario Brothers?
no, it wasn't well Mario Brothers too, but it was another movie. It was like where she had like a stone, like it was like I don't know if it was a witch or something, but she had like the book with the stone, and there was one scene where they had like the stone pattern where it was like this gray and black stone, and you saw like etchings on the stone. It was like all this red that was popping.
Oh, like the flare.
Yeah, like
right?
that red flare.
Flare with flare and the red flare. Yes, it was. The reds were more intense on the S95C.
Yes,
and the Sony one looked more, I'll just say, natural.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think if I guess, that's why I'd say, like, if they had like a color saturation thing, I think, that, like, I think the S95 would top Sony in that regard in terms of saturation of color.
Yes.
Like, deeper, but I don't know how that relates to, like, Hollywood reference. Like, color accuracy. Color accuracy makes more sense.
Yeah, and that's what you all have to remember. Samsung's strength is running wild with everything, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's like a vehicle. You get a car, maybe like a Mustang, right? Maybe you can go get you you can get you a BMW Beamer, whatever with the B58, the twin turbo 6 or the twin turbo 8s. It's kind of polished and buttoned down. And you can modify those two. People do it all day long. But like maybe you get a Mustang, right? Mustang's kind of a little bit more rowdy. I mean, they're getting refined, but it's more rowdy. You can add this to this and it could just run wild. You could just run with it, right? And maybe even run ahead and be faster. That's like what the Samsung is. Like Samsung is for people that like to modify their televisions. It's not like I want it perfect. And please keep in mind the G3, the S95C, and the A95L in terms of accuracy out of the box really are all within a few ticks of pretty much tracking accurately. Remember when the TV debuted, everyone was checking the accuracy, especially with the whole accuracy gate with the S95B, right? It's still maybe one or two, I'll just say 1 to 4 ticks from being accurate, as well as the G3, as well as the A95L. Maybe you can just the reds, adjust the red gain or about 2 ticks. There's all of them are just like that in terms of accuracy. So you're gonna have accuracy out the box, but calibration is more than just accuracy, right? It just gives you that extra sauce. But I want y'all to understand Samsung is about running wild. Sony is about accurate creators intent out of the box. It's just I don't have to do anything. I'm just gonna let it be.
More reserved, conservative, like more conservative, more like reserved, more like, reining it a little back and just like tweaking it for, like you said, the creative's intent. Samsung is just like let's let's just go wild, go buck wild. Basically.
Yes, you like shiny stuff. You don't care about following the EOTF curve. Come on, we'll give it to you. We don't care about all of that. I mean, we do, but hey, we'll let you run with it if you want. You want to do it? I know you want to do it. I know you like shiny stuff. People like shiny things, right?
Yeah.
So they run, and then the LG sits kind of in the middle. They sit like there's like a little best of both worlds, so to speak. That's kind of where LG falls into place. So, really, I know people are not going to agree with this stream. I mean, you gotta have people that's going to agree and disagree no matter what you do or don't do. That's just life. But we wanted to give y'all at least some insight into what we saw and what we actually are aware of that took place, did not take place, and how things actually were, and why the 895L won the crown. Like, it's worthy of the crown. I get it. For a lot of you, the price is high. I understand. So catch it on a sale. That TV is like minus maybe the HDI port, 2.1 port issue for gamers. It's pretty much future proof. So like if you get it, it has all the tech and a lot of things to it that will allow you to be content with a TV. Like you wouldn't have to get an 895M or N, or whatever the letter's going to be going for. You'll be good at least for the next couple of years. Really like all Sony's, but really you would be still competing. It has the brightness. It has the clear image. It has the accuracy. It earned the crown. It wasn't just hand out. It literally slugged it out and it earned it. And we saw that. Everybody saw how it was trading blows. We're like, wait a minute. Wait, what? There was a lot of surprise moments for us. We were like, wow. And I'm not just saying us here. I mean us meaning everyone in the building, judges and all. Calibrators. Everyone had to get like second and third looks. D Nice had to come out and look for his own. We all had to look because it was that close. And D Nice announced that. Robert Zone announced that. Everyone's been saying that. Caleb Dennison said that with the awards, but people just don't seem to hear. You cannot lose if you got a G3. I mean, any of these TVs, the U8K, the U8K, hands down, price point, nothing can beat the U8K.
Yeah.
In terms of, for it to even be in the same room at the price that it is insane. Mm-hmm. That's like hands down. I would go straight to it for the best. Their processing, I believe, is even better than TCL for what I've been seeing. That's just my personal and professional opinion. TCL is coming up too, but Hisense has done something even after looking at the UX, and I talked about that on Stop the FOMO stream. So you're all winners, y'all. Don't get caught up in the titles. It is what it is. It's a very fun thing. We want you to enjoy what you have. Don't be like, man, I got to get rid of my G3 or my S95C sucks or whatever QN95C, or you bought the Sharp. Like, they're all winners. And again, the mini LEDs are awesome in isolation. It's just don't look at them in the same space with an OLED. It's going to mess you up. But if you take OLEDs out of the equation and then you look at them, then you're going to love what you see.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Sorry. The reason why I'm doing this is because my dog.
Oh, it's all good.
She's getting very excited over TVs, I guess.
She's like, I gotta get that Sony. I want to see that Sony.
Yeah, but yeah, it was very insightful, very eye-opening, and definitely, I'd say if you are curious, maybe when the next shootout comes out, buy a ticket, see for yourself, see how it goes. And if you have any questions, they'll probably answer them, because you're talking to you have the opportunity to talk with these representatives from these manufacturers: Sony, LG, Sharp, Samsung Display, Samsung Electronics.
Yes.
So
Hisense was there too. Yeah,
Hisense. TCL was there, right?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. Yeah. Because it was so many. Y'all, it was so crazy the first day. There were so many people there, so many reps. It was just so hard to get around, and the time. And I was filming and streaming and trying to see. And it was so much. So I didn't quite make it around to every single person. It was a lot going on. But they're there. We're also here. If there's something in the comment section that y'all would like for us to cover,
Yeah.
Say maybe there's something that we didn't say. I have a ton of footage that I have to go through and I'll be releasing in the next couple of days. When I say a ton, I do mean a ton. I'm going to be talking about all of these TVs for a good little moment because there'll be no more new TVs for 2023. That's it. No more new TV releases until 2024. So please let us know in the comment section. You can also hit us up on our social medias and let us know if there's something you would like for us to talk about, whether it's a video, it's a stream, as it relates to the shootout or what's going on. And again, feel free to mention maybe possible categories. Like Game Enthusiast said, like maybe a color saturation category, if that could be the case. I mean, I don't know if there's time or if it could be allowed, but hey, please mention it. Maybe your TV may show up more than something else, but all these TVs are excellent. We saw them all. They all look really, really good. And I cannot see how anyone would be upset with any one of them, regardless whether it took third place, sixth place, or first place. They all, especially calibrated, man.
Yeah, they are all great TVs, but I, like a lot of people, have the preference on what makes a great TV. So
Yes.
you can choose, like, if you're gonna have to choose these three TVs, think about what is your preference. Do you game more than you watch movies? Do you watch movies more than you game? Do you watch sports more? Do you watch TV shows more? And come to a conclusion on like what makes a good TV, gaming, movie watching experience. Do you want your movies to have more color to them than like the most a lot of saturated color? Get the Samsung. If you want it to be as true as the creative's intent, go for the Sony. If you want like a good in between mix, I'd say go with the LG. So
I agree. Well, folks, that's pretty much our time. We just wanted to go ahead and get this out. Again, please let us know if there's something we haven't answered or we haven't addressed. We have tons of insight and tons that we could talk about on this. Let us know if you want us. I know, at least especially me. There also could be a possibility with me jumping on with Stop the FOMO and Whisper Status. It's up to them. I don't push anyone to do anything. I don't try to use my connections as source, but I told them I'm welcome to be on their show if they want. So if that's something you want, hey, let them know too. About Stop the FOMO. Y'all know about Brian's Tech Therapy. Let them know in the comment section. So hey, we want Iceman on there or whatever. Let them know you want Game Enthusiasts on there. Hey, we'll be on there if that makes sense to them and their show. So it's one big community, and that's what I have to say, and that's what I've seen from people that are just entering this community and people that have been in this community for however many years. It's just one big community fest, and this includes you all watching and listening. So please like both of our channels. Please subscribe. Please comment. Again, Game Enthusiast. That's his name here on YouTube. One last time, I'm going to put this on the screen just in case. Sometimes people don't see it. Literally, his name is Game Enthusiast. Please go over there, subscribe. You all know my particular channel. It's literally right here, Iceman and Bob. Shouldn't take rocket science to figure that part out. We thank y'all so much, and we hope that we have educated you as well as answered many of your questions about the 2023 Value Electronics TV Shootout.
yeah, and also just saying, it's October. It's gaming season starting. Mirage is coming out in like tomorrow. So I got my collector's edition. I'm ready to go. There's Spider-Man 2. So get excited. This is a great time to be a gamer and a TV enthusiast. And a tech enthusiast with small smartphones coming out. So you guys have a nice day. And all right.
All right, y'all. All right, we're until the next one. As I always say,